To be or not to bop? That is the question. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of To Be or Not to Bop. So this is a very special episode. I'm very excited about this episode. Particularly, I've been getting a lot of people commenting, when are you going to do a Fats Navarro episode? When are you going to do Fats Navarro? Fats is so important. I know. All right. So we're here now and we're getting into the fabulous Fats Navarro. So people are real excited about this episode, and why? Well, out of 3 of the episodes we've done so far, we've talked about some very important trumpet players. We've talked about, actually 4 episodes. We talked about Dizzy Gillespie, we've talked about Miles Davis, we've talked about Clifford Brown, and we've talked about Donald Byrd. Of these 4 trumpet players, Fats is a very integral part of this early bebop trumpet story. Fats Navarro is the connection for all of these musicians I just spoke of, from Dizzy to the modern jazz trumpet style that we know today. Fats is the one who took us from the swing era, early bebop, into modern day hard bop and bebop trumpet. He was very critical. An incredible technician of the instrument, a beautiful tone, beautiful phrasing, and even his placement in the history, he's really right before Clifford Brown. And we all know, we all love Clifford Brown. Clifford Brown is my favorite trumpet player, but there would be no Clifford Brown without Fats Navarro. There would be no Donald Byrd without Fats Navarro. And these are something that is a proven fact. I talked about it in my Donald Byrd episode. When I first compared him to Clifford Brown, he said, no, I'm actually into Fats Navarro. Fats Navarro was his biggest influence. So, like I said before, such an important figure in this music. So unfortunately, the great Fats Navarro had a very short career. He died in 1950 at the age of 26. He was a shining star of the music that we only had for such a short period of time. But luckily, we do have so much great music he left behind for us to dive into and to dissect. I wish we had some videos of Fats. I really don't think there are any videos of Fats out there. If you know about one, please let me know in the comments. But, and there aren't even really interviews with him. But I guess the closest thing I could come up with, I found an interview with the great trumpeter Howard McGhee. Howard McGhee lives in that same area of early swing era, transitioning into bebop trumpet player. Very similar to Dizzy. In fact, many people hear Howard McGhee, they confuse him with Dizzy Gillespie. So let's hear Howard McGhee talk about the great Fats Navarro.
Oh boy, that Fats Navarro was something. Sure played a beautiful horn, though. Yeah, me and him was very tight. Well, only thing that I can tell you about Fats is we had a ball, man. We enjoyed ourselves. And we hung out together quite a bit. It was a ball having a buddy with you that could play as high as you could play, and reach up there and get what we wanted. Like we played Devil Talk. I don't know how that come about that we got to practice the same mouthpiece. But we both went to Charlie Allen in Chicago. But me and Fats was real shuck buddies, man. Like we go hang out together. Go, like me and him, we used to go down to Billy Eckstein, and we played together with him for a while. And we had a ball, man. Enjoyed ourselves. We went out in the park and played late at night. And Billy Eckstein was come hang out with us because he played trumpet too. And we enjoyed it because I was playing with Georgie All's band, and Billy Eckstein had his band with Fats Navarro. And so the 3 of us used to go out and just hang out every night, which was a ball, man.
Was this around the time Diz was in?
Yeah, Diz was in the band too, come to think of it. He was in the Billy Eckstein's band. I was in Charlie Barnett's band, and the 3 of us used to go hang out every night, So we hung out and really enjoyed ourselves.
So there you have it, the great Howard McGhee talking about his relationship with the incredible Fats Navarro. Like he mentioned there, Fats replaced Dizzy in the Billy Eckstine band, and most notably, famous comment Billy Eckstine said about Fats, when Fats joined the band, it was almost like Dizzy didn't leave, like they didn't miss him, because he really stepped up and filled that chair. If we go back to some of the things Howard McGhee says in that interview, I thought that was cool for him to say, it was nice to have a buddy that could play up just as high as you. You know, that's one of the hallmarks of Fats Navarro's style. Not only is he lyrical, beautiful sound, plays a lot in the middle of the horn, perfect harmony. He started off on piano, so that explains that. But he also had this incredible high range. And not many trumpet players at that time could sort of match the virtuosity of a Dizzy Gillespie and the harmonic knowledge. So they were very much, although he was influenced by Dizzy, he was very much a contemporary. He could hang with him. This is actually a pretty cool thing I want to play for you. Here's 3 trumpet players trading. You tell me who's who. We got Fats Navarro, Dizzy Gillespie, and Miles Davis. All right, check this out. Very similar styles here we're hearing. There you go. Incredible. All right, so we heard 3 trumpet players there. We heard Fats Navarro, Miles Davis, and Dizzy Gillespie, all playing incredible bebop lines, all playing in the high register, all playing with incredible speed and virtuosity. Let me know in the comments if you figured out who played first and who played last. It's a little game for y'all to have, so go have fun with that. That just goes to show you the incredible and this stylistic community that was happening in early bebop. Dizzy came on the scene and set the pace, and the rest of those guys carried the torch and eventually would branch off into their own styles and ways of playing. So like we said before, most notably, probably Fats Navarro influenced no one more than he did the great Clifford Brown. And let's hear Clifford Brown talking about Fats Navarro.
He does very well too. But well, I guess the main thing is it's a matter of phrasing and taste. Dizzy's quite a technician, you know, and I don't think I play quite as technically inspired as he does.
Well, how would you compare Miles Davis with you?
Well, Miles plays a style that's very relaxed. It's almost it's on the in the direction of being easy to imitate, I would say, because he doesn't play a whole lot of notes, but what he does play is in very good taste, and it swings.
What about Fats Navarro? Are you
Here we go.
Are you familiar with a lot of Fats's work on records?
Yes, I'm pretty familiar with Fats because I admired him very much, and I always will remember him as one of the greatest trumpet players the world has known.
Would you name any other trumpeters as being
All right, the legendary Clifford Brown. And I love how he's very modest in there, where he says, I'm pretty aware, he's very aware of Fats Navarro, and not necessarily aware, but influenced by and familiar with Fats Navarro. But you could also hear the earnest love and admiration. You know, at this time, it's probably only 2 or 3 years past Fats's death. And you can kind of feel him talk about it, that, you know, in a way saying Fats will never forget you is one of the greatest to ever do it. And just to build off a little bit more into the connection of Clifford Brown and Fats Navarro, let's hear, check this out, Clifford Brown at the age of 14 practicing with his teacher, Robert Boise Lowery, and they're playing ornithology. Now I want you to check out Clifford's style on this recording. I'll jump ahead a little bit to the solo. All right, here's a young 14-year-old Clifford Brown playing on ornithology. So Clifford Brown at 14, if we're paying attention to the nuances there, a lot more vibrato than we hear in Clifford Brown later on. But that vibrato goes back to Fats Navarro. And remember, Fats is an extension of the swing era. So check this out. Now we're going to play a recording of Fats playing ornithology. I'm going to use some YouTube magic and slow it down and see if we can hear how the similarities in what a 14-year-old Clifford Brown was doing, and if we can hear the influence of Fats Navarro. All right, I'm going to slow it down a little bit. The tone color, the vibrato, sounds just like what Brownie was doing at the age of 14. So we know he was deeply entrenched in checking out Fats Navarro's style. There you have it. It's all about lineage, and all of the greatness of these musicians comes from knowledge passed down through the generations. It's all about the lineage. So that's why I tell students all the time, you know, we don't worry so much about creating something new. We check out what's already there first, and your style will eventually develop based on the information and all of the lineage that you tapped into. There's nothing new, all right? It all comes from somewhere. So it's an amazing thing to hear this evolution of styles. Clifford Brown coming from Fats Navarro, and like we talked about before, the Dizzy Gillespie lineage, Donald Byrd, Fats Navarro. It's all a tree of trumpet greatness. So there you have it, the great Fats Navarro. And by the way, fun fact, he is also the cousin of early swing era trumpet player Charlie Shavers. A lot of people don't know that. No better thing to do but to dive into this music and check out firsthand what Fats is really all about. All right, so this first solo we're gonna listen to is Our Delight. Whenever I hear Our Delight, the first thing that comes to my mind is Fats Navarro. I think this is one of his all-time greatest solos. He recorded it a few times, and as you hear a lot of different versions of the song, you're gonna hear some lines and some ideas repeated. So this is from live at the Royal Roost, Our Delight. So I'm gonna stop that there for a second. So at the end of the A section, ba 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 da ba 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 ba. A lot of times when we hear this song performed live, that's where it ends before we go to the solo. But in Tad Dameron's original arrangement, there's a tag there. So let's go back and listen to the ending of that. you out there who are going to go and play this song and want to learn this song, make sure you learn the whole thing. Learn the tags. This song has an incredible shout chorus. We'll hear it a little bit at the end. So we want to know the full arrangement of the song. All right, but this is about Fats. So let's jump ahead to Fats' solo. All right, here we go. All right, just that first opening statement. And so that phrase right there, if you check out all the versions of Fats Navarro playing Our Delight, he plays that every time. Every time he plays this solo, plays on this song, he starts with that opening phrase. All right, let's keep going. A little dizzy right here. All right, so when I first heard that 4 bars right there, the last 4 bars of the bridge, when I first heard Fats Navarro play that line, I was sold. I was like, this cat is the greatest. Unbelievable. Let's go, let's hear that 4 bars. Incredible, and that's another phrase that when you go through all of the different takes of Fats Navarro on Our Delight, you're going to hear that phrase. He plays it almost every time on. In fact, I loved it so much, I wrote a tune on my last record. God, I'm forgetting the name of the song, but it's on my record Soundview. I'll put it on the screen there so you'll know what it was. I used that phrase on the bridge of this tune that I wrote. So you can check it out. I'll drop a link or something like that. But unbelievable line. Woo! All right, let's hear a little bit more of that. A little more dizzy. Incredible. Let's jump ahead to that soli I was telling you guys about. All right, so this is something I talked about in the Miles Davis episode. A lot of these bebop compositions, they're not just A, B, A, head out, same head in as going out. No, great composers and arrangers like Tad Dameron wrote complete compositions. So on the head out, we're going to hear this soli that goes into the bridge of the song. They blow on a bridge, but there's a different last A out. So incredible writing in the bebop idiom. I love when they do this. So let's check it out. Let's see if I can play along with this soli. See if I remember it. All right, Tad on the bridge. Incredible writing. I owe you a few notes there, Tad Dameron. That's Our Delight. This next track is Charlie Parker's Anthropology. Now, whenever I have students who want to learn how to play rhythm changes, I direct them to this solo. This is an absolute masterpiece. There's not a wasted note in this entire thing, just perfectly crafted excellence. Including, there's a bridge he takes on the first chorus that I think if you learn this bridge, you understand how to play the bridge on rhythm changes. You're gonna hear a lot of wonderful things on it. Let's get right to it. There you go. That first 8 bars right there, he opens up with a quote, and this is something that the beboppers love to do. They take a melody of the day. That opening quote there is, "We're in the money." All right, let's hear that 8 bars again. And you hear him end with that dizzy phrase. All right, let's keep going. All right, now here comes that bridge I was telling you about. First bridge on Rhythm Changes in the first chorus. Absolute perfection. The whole end of that, from the bridge to the last A, incredible. Anthropology, Fats Navarro, incredible. All right, so here's the next solo we're gonna play for you. This is Stealing Apples, and this is from Fats Navarro's period where he was working with the Benny Goodman Septet. Incredible group. Mundell Lowe on the guitar, Mel Zelnick on drums, Clyde Lombardi on the bass, Gene DeNovi on piano, and what a legendary front line. We got, of course, Fats Navarro on the trumpet, Benny Goodman on the clarinet, and someone we're definitely going to do an episode about down the line, the great Wardell Gray, one of the unsung master tenor players, the history of jazz and in bebop. We're definitely going to focus the spotlight on him at some point. Yeah, let's check out Fats' solo on Stealing Apples. Now, I remember the first time I heard this, I could always obviously hear the connection between Clifford and Fats. But when I heard this one, there's something about him playing in the cup mute. I'm like, oh my God, like that's Brownie. Like, I feel like this is the solo Brownie heard, and he was like, I'm in there. All right, so let's check it out. Nice little head. There it is. Yeah. All right. Benny Goodman, killing it. Something I talked about in the Betty Carter episode, you know, masters of the swing era got bit by the bebop bug as well, and we hear it there with Benny Goodman. So this is about Fats Navarro. Let's jump ahead to Fats' solo. Like that line right there. That is so Brownie. 100% Brownie. Let's go back to that real quick. But it's really Fats. It ain't Brownie, it's Fats. It's both of them. Clifford just ran with the baton. Oh. Articulation, vibrato, sound, just the treatment of those perfectly timed eighth notes, long eighth note flowing lines, the right notes hitting on the right parts of the beat, just the pretty notes. All right, let's hear the rest of the solo. This line right here. I mean, you can't tell me you don't hear Brownie and Nap. If you don't hear that, you got some more listening to do. All right, so that's Fats on Stealing Apples. All right, so here's Good Bait, of course, written by the great Tad Dameron. Like I said before, that's that special connection. Tad Dameron was the straight horn to Ellington, or you can either say the Quincy Jones to Michael Jackson. An incredible collaborative team. All right, let's check out Good Bait. A lot of Dizzy influence on this one too. This was a hit in the Dizzy Gillespie big band. So you're really gonna hear a lot of the connection between Diz and Fats on this one. All right, here goes Fats on the bridge. All right, so before we get to that next section right there, whenever you hear Fats Navarro, especially in a situation like that right there on the bridge of that song, you know, obviously in a lot of these solos, we're hearing him play in these long eighth note lines, high registered range. But when you hear him play in the middle of the horn, for me, that is a signal to the future of jazz trumpet. He's playing with a full sound in that register. And it's something that's very different from his predecessors. When we hear Fats's tone and his interpretation, it really shows you how he sort of changed the way jazz trumpet was going. And you know, obviously, Clifford Brown. Like I mentioned in my Donald Byrd episode, Donald Byrd said he was influenced by Fats Navarro. Even when I think of some more modern players, when I think of Nicholas Payton, Fats Navarro comes to mind for me, a very similar concept. All right, let's hear a little bit more of the solo. So we talked about him playing in the middle register with that huge, warm, fat sound. Let's hear the rest of this solo, and now we're gonna hear that nod to Dizzy. That's the third time we heard that line. All right, let's jump ahead to the rest of the solo. Also, the placement on the beat. When we hear the beginning of this trumpet solo, that style of laying back on bebop. That is so signature. I mean, not just bebop, but modern jazz trumpet. All right, here we go. Oh. And he goes back to that laid back style. Ow. Fat girl. Good bait. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so this last one is a little bonus for you. We're gonna go over his solo on Nostalgia. Now, that's his most famous solo for sure, but I'm not sure how many of you are hip to the alternate take on Nostalgia. It's really hard to find, but I have it. All right, so we're gonna check that out. Now, I talked about before how Fats was such an architect and what I call, he had his own branding in his solos. So certain lines he played over and over in different circumstances, whether it was a live date or whether it was a recording date. Whenever he would play that particular song, and in the same places, he would play the same phrases. This is something that people might frown upon, but great music making is about repetition as well. We don't have to be 100% spontaneous all of the time. This is something I tell the students. If you got a good thing going, keep going, keep doing it. All right, so let's check out his solo on Nostalgia, the alternate take. I'm assuming if you're a Fats Navarro fan, you already know the master take, so we're gonna get into this alternate take. And if you don't know the master take, check it out, go listen to it. All right, let's check it out. I remember Clark Terry told me, I met Clark Terry many years ago. He said that phrasing that you hear, ba-oo, 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 ba, that's called uba phrasing. And that's a Tad Dameron thing. He said he learned that from Tad Dameron. All right, let's jump ahead to this solo. All right, so if you know the original version, you know he starts with this opening line. So on this version, he plays it again, but he goes to a different place. Same phrase. Yep, so there you go. If you check out the original, he plays that same line. All right, let's keep going. Another phrase from the original solo. Duke Ellington's Rockin' in Rhythm quote plays it in the original, in the master take as well. There you have it, the rare alternate take on Nostalgia. Let me know in the comments what you think of that version. Do you like it better than the first one? I kind of like it better than the master take. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this episode of To Be or Not to Bop. We hope you enjoyed and dug Fats Navarro. That was only about 5 solos. We're going to do more of these. We're going to get into some more Fats Navarro solos, so don't worry. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you soon. Peace. To be or not to bop? That is the question.